Hey everyone, how you doing? Oh, what a day, what a day, what a day I had the other day. My daughter, I know some of you saw in the comments why I was really late uploading a video. A couple of reasons, but I did get myself a new hard drive just for video, which my son said will make hopefully my rendering, my upload times much quicker, especially for the length of the videos that they are, because some of them are like 2 hours long and it's taking a really long time to render and then to upload them, to not only to render and then to transform, to render them, to export them into an MP4, and then it's not so long to upload them to YouTube. That's actually the slowest part. That's actually the quickest part. And then they were saying, well, it might be the video software, which I use Photoshop and Premiere. So I don't know. We'll have to see. The hard drive is coming tomorrow, so yeah, we'll see how that works out, because it'll be well worth the investment if the times are quicker and I can get videos up faster. Because the other day I had that video ready to go and it was going through the upload like 3-4 times and it wasn't completing, and then something happened and it was just a mess. So that's why that video went up so late. And then I had to go out of town because my daughter was getting an award for performing CPR on a cyclist. She was, I hope I get the right, she rides in so many bike tours. I believe it was the Twin Lights. Pretty sure that was the one bike tour. And that was like through that was through New Jersey, almost along the shore in a town called Highlands, New Jersey. That was one of the towns that was in this tour. A lot of them are like 40-50 miles, so they go through many towns. But nearing the end of the race, they actually showed me the hill that it happened on. This cyclist went up the hill, and I don't know if he got all the way up, but I asked him, because I met him, if he had a pain. Was it a massive pain? He said no, he just felt like, he just didn't feel good. He felt like really, really out of breath, and he said he just pulled to the side, he stepped off his bike, and he said he just felt himself go down, and he didn't remember anything until he was in the ambulance. So apparently what happened is he collapsed, and my daughter stopped, because my daughter, she's like the fire warden for her office, and she'd go ride with the police. There was some other thing she is, and she's like the active shooter person. I don't know what the term for that one is, but yeah, it gets everybody, if there's an active shooter, gets everybody calm and gets them everybody into their right places. Like it's like a drill, because she works in Manhattan. But so anyway, she stopped, and other riders like went flying right by, and she started to perform CPR, and then somebody called for emergency, and then I don't know what he's definitely with the fire department. He had the portable defibrillator, right? And he came, and then he used that. And my daughter was really worried, because she said, he was looking blue and everything, but he made it. And then a couple of months later, this happened in September, a couple of months later, my daughter got an email from the wife, thanking her for saving her husband and the father of her 3 children. And then my daughter got an email from the Highland Police Department and Emergency Services, and then that was this big award ceremony. So she was given, this medal and this honor, and one of the fire chiefs says he doesn't even have it. He's like, you see this one? He's like, we wear this here. He goes, I don't even have one of those. And then the other person that was being honored was the member of that fire department that had the portable defibrillator. So it was her and him, and it was very nice. So that was nice, but it was 3 hours like each way, and my oldest son and I went. My husband had to stay home with the little ones, but yeah, they could have never come. It was it was a school night, to say the least, and we didn't get back till 2 or 3 in the morning, because it was 3 hours each way, and then we went out to eat, and then it was crazy. And every time I go into New Jersey, even though I grew up there, I lived in northern New Jersey, the signage in New Jersey is terrible. It's like they want people to miss the exit, like, and I'm not used to it. I mean, I was telling my son, I used to drive those roads with, the traffic, everything, and be so relaxed, so relaxing. Now it was like just crazy. And they put the signs for the parkway, they don't even put them up, they're like down on the ground. It's terrible signage. And that's why, if you notice, if you ever go to New Jersey, right after every exit, you'll say U-turn, 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 because it's like, maybe save the money on the U-turn signs and put an extra sign before. Because then when you're used to living in New York, like, we let you know the exit's coming. And they do the same kind of thing, like when the lane ends, half the times they didn't even have a sign, they had a little painted arrow on it. Now, where I'm from in New York, it's like, we have sign, lane ends 1,500 feet, lane ends 1,000 feet, lane ends 500 feet, and then the big blinking arrow, right? And it's crazy. But since I'm not in New Jersey all the time now, even though I live like right on the border, and that's where I grew up, right on the border, because I was very on the northern tip of New Jersey. So it's just, now it just boggles my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, this signage, and my son's like, oh my gosh, I would have never made it. We had to go out, like, this Highlands is, I guess it's near Sandy Hook. And so, yeah, we had to drive all the way out there, and it was so congested on the way there, we almost got killed like 15 times. And then on the way back, it was much better. We only got killed, almost got killed only once. So, yeah, and that was because they're getting rid of these toll booths in Harriman, and the way they have that configured is really insane. So, yeah, that was fun. But, yeah, we had a good time, and I know I've been rambling, and then people think, you were rambling? But it's true crime chat, guys, and I'm chatting a little bit. I don't know how it would be if I just came on here and be like, okay, hi guys, here, right into the case. But anyway, I was letting you guys know what's going on. And if you don't want to know what's going on, you can always skip ahead. So here we are with true crime. Okay, what I decided to do, and what's always interesting with this case, like I told you the last time, that this case is like an onion, right? It's totally like an onion, because you get into it and you think you've seen everything. Like, I think I've seen everything with this Mistress, but I haven't. I'll read another report or something and I'll find things that I didn't see or hear. A lot of times I think that maybe because one of those very, very long interviews that's taped is just cut off at the end. And I think you guys know which one I'm talking about. She just stops abruptly. So I don't know what happened, but I think when I find things that I haven't heard, that it all comes from there. But I found some interesting tidbits. So tonight is going to be like an eclectic mixture of the Chris Watts case, the discovery that we're going to go over, because, so like who's it's and what's it's galore, right? You want thingamabobs? Okay, so I'm crazy, I know. Okay, here's what I have. I want to go over the Primrose School calls. I want to go over those new things that I discovered from the Mistress, because they're very interesting. I also have Sandra Ruzcek's statement I want to go over, and I have what was I going to do? A couple of things. I wanted to go over Nicole Atkinson's interview, because there were a couple of interesting things there, and I have to go back and really read through that, because I don't know, it seems at first, and I could be wrong because I just read this and I went to go back, I think it was one of the officers called her to do an interview, asked her to come down, and she said something like, if I come down, am I going to be charged with a crime? And I think what it should have been is, if I don't come down, am I going to be charged with a crime, like not assisting? But you have to watch. They forget a word in a report, and it makes all the difference in the world, because she'd be like, why is she thinking she's going to get charged with a crime? But then the more I thought about it, because after the next thing she said that she was on her way to work, and that she couldn't take any time off, and then they said there was a man in the background, saying something, and I don't know if it was her husband or whatever, that but she had to get to work. So then when they said, well, can we come down to your place of work? She said, yes, you can, but I have to go to work. So yeah, I think, but just one little word, right, can make all the difference in the world. And then I was going to get that interview and go over that and some of the other friends. But then once I got this, and I got stuff from the Mistress, and I also have some tidbits from the neighbor about the car. Remember about parking the car down the street? Also how they got the passcode for the phone. And remember there was somebody said the phone was right on the cushions? No, it was between the cushions. So you see two different versions of that too. And I had a couple of other theories and things to discuss, but that's the stuff I want to go over right now. And my daughter, we're supposed to get a major snowstorm. There was a 2-hour delay for school today. And then the school was in session, and it's been snowing. The driveway's been plowed, but we're supposed to get, I think it's tomorrow, and then Sunday, and then Monday is supposed to be 7 degrees. It's supposed to be a really snowy weekend, and of course it's Martin Luther King Day, so the kids are off on Monday. My daughter's off on Monday, so she's coming home for the weekend, and I'm supposed to go get her later on because she's coming in by bus, and so I have to go do that. And hopefully, I hate driving in this stuff, but I think I'll be okay until tomorrow. Anyway, when I went down and we spoke to her friend, because we all went out to eat, I had my oldest son with me, talked about doing a video together, and I thought I would be able to do one with my son and my daughter, but I think it's just going to be my daughter because of the storm and everything. And then I was talking with my son. I want to find out how to do the split screen, because if I can do a split screen, then even if my daughter's in Manhattan or my son is whatever, we can do that if I can figure that out. And I'm pretty tech savvy, unlike the Mistress, so I just have to figure out what it is that I need and to do that, and then do it. So that's something that I think it would be a lot easier in the future, but we'll see. I'm going to try to do a video with her this weekend, so I'll see. I'm not going to make a promise because I like to keep my promises, so I'm going to try to do that. And I normally hate the word try. My favorite thing is, it's like Yoda, right? No try, do or do not. But okay, so let's get into this. I want to talk about that hideous podcast. That Plunder channel is putting little tidbits of it on there. That, in case, because I say a lot of things in the comments, and then some of you email me, and I don't know what I've said and what I haven't said, but if you remember that video that I did, that one where I told you that one of you guys asked me to go listen to that podcast, and I said it was vile and it was nasty and it made me upset for 2 days, and then the two partners, and then they had Almond Joy in there. It was Kay and Jay and Almond Joy, right? Who had Mounds of Love. Remember all that craziness? And then they were discussing what they thought was going to be on the autopsy, and they were all taking round robin turns and saying, she got the tar beat out of her, and I think this happened, I think that happened. And then at the last part I told you that the two, Kay and Jay, broke up, and I didn't know till recently that Jay went over. I read you her statement the last time, and she had said she released all of the material and the name and the logo, whatever it was, to this Kay, who seemed to have been technically challenged. So then now one of her Chris Watts fangirls, I guess, said, I'll help you. I'm good with this stuff. So they got together, and I don't know, I don't really, I've heard enough than I ever want to hear. But what I think happened, because a lot of people are asking about this, I'm just going to sum this up because they're seeing little bits on the Plunder channel. I think what happened is that Jay is trying to distance herself from Kay and from whatever they discussed on those, 16 podcasts, I think it was. Because I believe in one thing, Jay said she didn't do something unless unless my ears are playing tricks on me, I heard her partaking in the let's speculate what the autopsy is going to show, and that there was a struggle and she got the stuff beat out of her and all this stuff. But I think she's trying to distance herself from that because it wasn't working for getting fans and subscribers. So now, you know, she's whatever, seeing the light. I don't know. And at the time that it was hitting plunder, because there were two of them, there was one with the, remember the reading of the Bible in prison, stories to his kids and all that, and they were gushing and gushing over that. That was with the new partner, okay? That's Kay with the new partner. And then Kay said she was setting up a YouTube channel and she was going to have those sessions. You don't ever see their faces, okay? That's probably a good thing. But you just hear their voices. They're like podcasts, okay? That he put on YouTube. And she also had stuff on SoundCloud. And she had all of the episodes. So she had all of the episodes before that she did with Jay. And then she went and put them on YouTube, but then she recorded her first podcast, right, with her new partner, and she bashed not only Shanann to pieces, she bashed her old partner to pieces. And then I think, because then everybody's saying, you know, her whole channel was shut down. Was it because she was bashing Shanann? No, because there's a lot of channels up here. I shouldn't say a lot. There's a few channels that I've seen up here that bash Shanann and they haven't been taken down. That's not what it is. I think her old partner, because it was her voice in those recordings, and probably after she came out and bashed her, or because she didn't want to have anybody say, hey, I thought you didn't say anything. Would you say here? Would you say there? Would you say there? Do that and bring that stuff up. I think she then filed a report, you know, copyright infringement to YouTube, which doesn't make sense because she said that she signed a release or something. I don't know, but I really think that has to be what happened, because not only were they removed from YouTube, they were removed from SoundCloud, all the previous podcasts, and only the ones that this Kay has with her new partner are up there, okay? And they're disgusting. They're disgusting, and I'll tell you one thing, I do not believe for 1 minute that that woman that's up there talking that says she's his ex-girlfriend is his ex-girlfriend. It's kind of like a Trent Bolt. Everything she's saying is everything that's gathered from whatever is in the Discovery, whatever was on Facebook. She doesn't have one picture of the two of them together, and if somebody says, oh, well, she doesn't want to show her face, she could have pixelated her face and just shown that she was with him. She didn't have one shred of proof, and I found out that through the grapevine that in their own Shanann bashing group, that their own cronies don't believe her, and they're asking for proof, to which she's responding, you know, very aggressively that she doesn't have to give any proof, and if you don't like it, you know, shove it. So yeah, it was just a bash fest on Shanann, and they cackle like a couple of gossipy, I could say a lot of words, but I won't. They cackle like crazy as they gush. This Kay acts like she's like 16, you know, gushing over the Beatles or something. She's gushing over Chris Watts and saying how his eyes are dead. They are soulless. And she's going, oh, his eyes there, you know, like, and I'm just like, honey, I feel sorry for you. Your husband must not be doing anything for you. You're gushing over this guy. It's crazy. She's gushing. It's embarrassing, and it's sickening. It's more, you know, it's sickening. That's what it is. It's vile and it's sickening. And they just sit there and they bash Shanann from one end to the other, and then they go, oh, but we'll defend Cindy Watts till the death. Till our death we'll defend Cindy Watts. Whatever they say they're going to defend her, they're going to stick by her, and it's not fair, and people shouldn't be doing this. And then meanwhile, oh yes, that's Shanann. She never let him do this, and she never let him do that, and she didn't want him to work out, and she made him sell his Mustang, and she took away whatever joy he had. No, you should have married him. He never would have done this. The real kick in the pants is they are still saying, and other channels too now are all going back, and that one channel is this Kay is best friends with Jamie Watts. So all of that is coming from the Watts. People are even speculating that she's being paid and that girlfriend is being paid to do this. And that's speculation. I don't have proof of that, but that's what's speculated, in order to lift up Chris's reputation and just bash Shanann. And they're saying that she killed the children. Yep. And in that podcast, they're like, oh, well, that was his mistake, because when he went up those stairs, he shouldn't have gone up those stairs to kill those children. But, what are you going to do? He didn't know what to do. And it's like, it's so stupid, because, number one, why are you even doing this? It's horrific enough what happened, but really, you think you're elevating Chris's reputation is going to do something for you? It's going to make you feel less awful? That's what it's about. It's like, any person would be like, how could I do that to somebody that was killed? It's just, I don't know. And they just do it, and she laughs as she just slams Shanann and slams her and slams her and slams her. And I really hope the Ruzceks, get this wrongful death going, and I hope they screw him to the wall and bring out all that proof, bring out all that evidence that's going to show 100% Shanann did not strangle her children. And here's the other thing, that they'll say when they're speculating, and even the Chris Watts fan club, okay? Just follow me on this one, because this is crazy. People say, well, I don't think he meant to kill the kids. It could just be that he strangled Shanann and killed her, and then one of the kids got up and saw him, so he had to kill the kids. Now, guys, I will tell you that if I, in some crazy rage, strangled my husband to death, right? And then one of my kids comes down the stairs, I'm not going to kill my kid. No. I don't understand what parent would kill their kid because their kid. Wouldn't you as a parent say, oh my gosh, I did this horrific thing. Now, I don't know what the circumstances are that I strangled my husband, but let's just say I had no justification, right, for doing it. And I would just say, okay, well then I'll have to face whatever consequences I have to face, but I'm not going to kill my children. What? So I'm going to kill my children, right? Okay, just follow me. I'm going to kill my children, what, 1, 2, 3, come down. Okay, I'm going to kill my children, and then I'm going to stay alive, and then I'm going to feel good with my life. I'm going to be in jail anyway. What kind of loving parent would kill their children? Chris Watts fans, Chris Watts fangirls, and the cheerleading squad, you want to tell me why you would say that? They even called one of the kids collateral damage. Okay, well, he had to take her out. It was collateral damage. He didn't want to kill his kids. He had to. Because they go back and forth with theories. Okay, this was in the other theory that if he killed his kids, that would have been the way it was done, that he didn't want to do it. It was just collateral damage because Bella got up, and then Cece was collateral damage because he couldn't leave one of them alive. So yeah, it would just be that. And they're perfectly fine with that. That seems perfectly normal to them. Perfectly normal. Yeah. And then as they say this, they say something about the kids had to be alive when Shanann got home, because what kind of mother wouldn't go in there and kiss them on their forehead and, give them a kiss or something? And it's like, oh, that you think is really bad if she didn't want to go in there and wake her kids up because they were light sleepers and she was exhausted and and then she went down and she ordered hair dye instead of kissing her kids. First of all, they don't even know she didn't kiss her kids, but if she didn't, it could have been that her kids are really, really light sleepers and she couldn't take the chance of waking them up. She probably peeked through the door, whatever. But, they're slamming that, but then they see nothing wrong with Chris killing both of his children because they witnessed him killing his wife. That's okay. But let's slam Shanann if she didn't go kiss those kids after she got home. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And yeah, so they say that, but then they go back on this last podcast to say that he just didn't know what to do. She killed those kids, and he came at her in a rage, and he shouldn't have, disposed of the bodies. So they disposed of the bodies that way. But, I don't know, I might do the same thing in his case. Yeah, really? Okay. And the other thing is they try to dehumanize Shanann and the baby, they call the baby, they refer to the baby as a fetus all the time. The fetus, the fetus, the fetus. He didn't want the fetus. Like, even when they're talking about, he didn't want the fetus. It's like the fetus. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. And then they say the corpse. We thought her corpse was going to be this. They're just trying to make things as grotesque and just as dehumanizing as possible. And you can just feel the hatred and contempt. And like I said before when discussing Cindy Watts, and of course her daughter, which she appears more vile than them both. Yeah, I can understand you being embarrassed and being humiliated and being that your son and your brother did such a heinous thing, and maybe you feel in a way it taints you as parents. What did you do wrong? And and the sister could feel like, what is she? She's damaged goods. She's got these genes, and maybe her kids. So they're trying to do this to try to paint Chris in a much better light, that no, he's not this monster. He's not this person. We don't have to worry about his genes, being his family and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Like I said, he did things, even if the story went according to what they want to say, okay, the things he did afterwards, and even killing his wife, because even like Frank Ruzcek said, if it happened like that, you could have knocked her to the ground, you could have pinned her against the wall, but you killed her. Like, wouldn't you be more interested in just like, even if he slammed her against a wall, but trying to resuscitate his children? Trying to even try to resuscitate his children? But he had no feeling. Oh, they were blue. He didn't even try. What parent doesn't try? Okay? That's number one. Number two, again, he didn't have to kill her if this happened. You'd call 911 immediately, right? Okay? And third, even if he did kill her in the fit of rage, you call 911 and you show them what was done. What are you worried about cleaning up for? Your children that you love so much are gone, right? Most parents wouldn't even think about their own life. Well, he's just thinking about that new life he wants, okay? So, this says so much about him. So yeah, there is something really, really, really wrong there, okay? But like I said, if Cindy, you could see the contempt, the mouth that like just furls and twitches when she talks about Shanann, and you can go back and what she says about, there's all this hatred and this contempt, and it's horrible. But let's just say she kept her mouth shut, okay? Let's just say she didn't go forward on those interviews and slam Shanann. Let's say even if she wanted to say anything, just gave sympathy to the Ruzcek family and talked about how hard it was losing her granddaughters, and that she genuinely loved them, because it doesn't seem that way to a lot of us, okay? In this podcast, they said that all of Shanann's illnesses were made up, so were the allergies. They poo-pooed, that whole nut incident. They said Shanann was nuts. They said Shanann was going, oh, is that your house? It's so small. Oh, those decorations are so quaint. Now, if she said those decorations are so, but they turned it around to say it as a slam, but I don't even believe any of this happened, but they said that she would drive up and she'd go, oh, that's such a small house. I would never live in a house like. They just went to do everything and say everything about a woman that's not here to defend herself, right? And just put her in such a bad light. It was disgusting. It was disgusting. If Ron had gone there and they expressed remorse, right, for what their son, I can't believe what our son, we don't know what happened, we don't know what he did, but he killed our daughter-in-law, he killed our granddaughters, people, and didn't speak about Shanann with such hatred, even if they came out and they said, we're sorry, we can't believe this, they would have a chance of people having sympathy for them and not, whatever they say, they're getting backlash. But when you go on the news and you slam Shanann, and then even after your son admits and everybody can see where that story came from, and you continue after you say, no, okay, yeah, we've accepted it, and now you're continuing to go down that road, you're resuming that Shanann killed the kids again, what kind of response do you think you're going to get? Okay, it's hateful. It's beyond hateful. Okay? So, yeah, yes. Now the other thing is, this one on this podcast, you know what she's going to do? Oh, they were saying, she controlled him with his Facebook, and no wife should ever do that. Now their next podcast, they're going to spin it because she says, because she had control of his Facebook, and she says his phone, that she goes, we're going to tell you more about that doll picture. I know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to try to say that Shanann took the picture. Okay, she could have even taken it out. I'm not even going to say this because they probably don't even know this, okay, like how this could work, because for the story they're going to fabricate, but that Shanann could have sent that through Chris's Facebook account. People full of that much deceit and deception and hatred and contempt, but deceit, after, you tell me somebody's Christian or whatever, but then you're doing these things that are lies in order to slander someone that was murdered, and you think it's okay because you're raising or elevating what you think is public opinion for Chris Watts, and you think it's okay? Really, it's not okay. It's not okay. Okay? So it's sickening. It's absolutely sickening, and I feel so bad for the Ruzceks to have to deal with these people like this, and it's sickening. It's sickening, and I really hope they screw him to the wall in that civil trial. They get the evidence they need to come out there and without a doubt show, because probably even then they won't stop. They'll say, some crazy, they paid the guy off, whatever, because it's just people like that. You're not going to, but just have that evidence to throw it in their face. I mean, I can't even imagine what Shanann had to deal with these people. I mean, so hateful. And as we talk about that, let's read Sandra Ruzcek's statement that she typed to the police, because it's very telling. They said that, Jamie, poor Jamie, right, poor Jamie, she's so poor, little Jamie. That Shanann got so angry with her at the engagement party because she didn't tell her she was beautiful. And then they'll cackle, can you believe that? They did that to poor Jamie. Oh my gosh, how mean is Shanann? Shanann is so mean. Sickening, because they want to take the focus off of what poor Jamie did, right? Because she's such a sweetie. She's such a little sweetie, Jamie. She's so sweet. Wait till you hear how sweet she is. Okay, so this was written by Sandra Ruzcek, and so she says, in 2009, Shanann built her house in Charlotte, North Carolina, while she was battling her lupus. Her friend told her about her cousin Chris, saying he's a very nice guy, quiet, etc. So Shanann got a request from him on Facebook. Months later, she called me saying, "Mom, I met a nice guy. He is a mechanic." And Sandra said, "As long as you're happy and he is good to you." A few months after that, Shanann and Chris had a family gathering, and Frank, Sandy, along with Chris's parents, had a cookout. Chris's parents were floored when they saw Shanann's house. Shanann was a hard worker and wanted this to eventually sell and make a profit, and to keep doing so, eventually, I guess, to keep building and selling houses to be mortgage free, because she comes from a family of contractors, which is great. She's an entrepreneur. She's doing her thing. She has this nice house at 25. They should be happy that this is their son's girlfriend, but So Shanann was eager to please his parents, waiting on them hand and foot. And when Shanann left the back porch, it was just Sandy and Chris's mom. And she said that Cindy leaned over to her and said, Shanann was married before? And Sandy said, yes, just like your daughter. A while later, Cindy came up to Sandy and said, I just don't see it. And Sandy said, what don't you see? And she said, I don't feel that your daughter really loves my son. And then Sandy said, I knew she was going to be a thorn in the marriage, because my mother-in-law was the same way. Every time they had cookouts, the sister and the mom were very quiet and distant, and it was obvious that they did not accept Shanann or her family, and they made it well known. So fast forward to the engagement party. Shanann and her mother shopped for food, wine, etc. They spent a lot of money getting supplies for this party. Jamie, Chris's sister, wanted all the invitations so she could help. She's such a sweetie. And Shanann told Sandy, Mom, Jamie wants to help send off the invitations. What do you think? You think she's finally accepting me? Poor Shanann. Yeah, right? She goes, I'm going to let her do it. So Chris's mom and his sister were prepping food, and they cross-contaminated everything, so Shanann couldn't eat any of it. So nothing was gluten-free, because remember, they didn't believe Shanann had any ailments, okay, illnesses. Everything was made up, okay, because that's what they believed. So Sandy says, thank goodness, thank God she had made a lot of food, brought it, so at least Shanann could eat. And then as the night went on, Shanann and her mother went into the bathroom, and Shanann told the mother, Mom, I don't know what happened. I gave her over 80 invites to send out, and only the immediate family came. What happened? And so she was devastated, right? So the next day she started calling some of the people that were on the list that she never came and she didn't hear from. And guess what? So Shanann called people the next day to learn that they never received an invitation. Miss Jamie never mailed them. And now she's saying sounds like Miss Jamie is the jealous one, isn't it? And Miss Jamie's trying to deflect. Right? They always say they're calling her out for what's really in themselves. So they're now trying to lie and say that Shanann got all upset because Jamie didn't say she was beautiful that day, when it's really Jamie that's all upset because nobody was telling her she was beautiful that day, or maybe she was anticipating, she was so jealous already that she was going to fix it and just not send about 3/4 of the invitations. Lovely, lovely sister-in-law. Great way. Great. So Shanann and Chris were upset, and they knew not to ask again. Of course not. Then came the wedding, and no one from his whole family came. Very mature family. And like I said to you, I guarantee you, Cindy threw a hissy fit, and Jamie threw a hissy fit and thought he'd call off the wedding, and that probably further fueled their hatred when he didn't, because how could he not listen to us, Mom? How could he walk away? Whatever. And so they're just these little stubborn, immature people that missed their son's wedding. Only his grandmother and his uncle went. No mom, dad, sisters, aunts, cousins, that all came. Very mature. Chris spoiled Shanann and vice versa. They were so in love, and they were a great team. They moved to Colorado and lived with Shanann's friend for 1 year while they were building their house. And I love how when you listen to Ron spin this story, he says that they moved out there because, she just wanted to rip Chris away from his family when it was Chris that got the job out there. Chris got the job out there. Shanann went out there later and had to get a job. Chris is the one that got the job out there. So the Watts family needs to get their heads into reality. Okay. And everything was great, and Shanann saw something on Chris's private parts that didn't look normal. They went to the doctors, and it was cancer. So it was removed, and Shanann saved his life. Then Shanann got pregnant with Bella Marie. Everyone was so excited and happy, and Shanann and Chris were wonderful parents. Chris and Shanann were working at the Ford dealership in Longmont at the time. Shanann was selling cars. Chris was the head mechanic, and again, they were a great team. Shanann was top salesperson at the dealership, and even Ronnie Watts gives her that. Okay, that's her. What did he say? He didn't say her niche. He said that's her. Forget what word he used for that, but yeah, that's her knack. Maybe he said. I can't remember. So yeah, so she was top sales, and then Bella came, so Shanann stopped working because of a high-risk pregnancy. She was a trooper through the whole thing. Both families seemed happy. Chris's sister never flew to Colorado at any time they were out there. So in all that time they were out there, Chris's sister never made a visit at all, even when her little baby brother had his children. Cindy and Ronnie went out 2 times a year. Shanann worked at the Children's Hospital at night and also sold 31 bags on the side. Everything was good. Shanann got pregnant with Celeste, and the pregnancy was really rough on Shanann with her lupus. Very high-risk pregnancy again, but only this one was worse for Shanann. Water weight gain, severe back pain, shortness of breath, pains in her chest, fatigue, and exhaustion. So Frank and Sandy sold everything besides their house and moved out. That's the period of time that they lived with Chris and Shanann. Now, they had to pay their bills, so they got jobs out there, and that's how Sandy met Nicole Atkinson, because Sandy's a hairdresser, so she got a job out there at a salon that Nikki was one of the managers at. So you see how people, she made a reference to that too, how the people come into your lives. That's how Nicole came into their lives. It was first through her mother and her mother moving out there, and I believe Frank was driving for Lowe's at the time. I know he mentioned that in an interview, and I don't know if that's the only job he had out there or not. So she said that they sold everything and they were out there for 15 months. But Chris's mom, during that time, remember that, Shanann was home to watch the kids, so when her mother went to work and stuff, but there was a time they went on a Lavelle trip, and that's another thing this podcast says. They say that, she's going on all those trips as if she's paying for them. I guess they don't know how it works. They earn those trips, and they're paid for, okay? They're part of the perks there. Smarty pants. Okay, so she said that Chris's mom came out to watch the girls for a few days when Shanann and Chris went on a business trip with Lavelle for 4 nights and 5 days, because again, Sandy and Frank were working. So they said during that time they were not allowed to see their grandchildren. Very mature woman, right? Or even eat dinner with them as soon as they got home. So Sandy and Frank would come in the door, and most grandmothers, right? Why not sit down with them and have dinner with them, and why wouldn't you want to socialize with, it's like, no, she would grab the kids and run up to that loft area. Yep. So she said that she brought them upstairs and stayed upstairs. She wouldn't let us hold them or anything. I found that very odd. So one day I asked her why. She said, "What the hell am I here for then?" She screamed in my face in front of my granddaughters and said that I was very controlling. See, again, they're projecting what their problem is on someone else. That Sandy is very controlling. Cindy, nobody would think you are. No, absolutely not. And Sandy said, I was just like, wow. I texted Shanann over and over again, and she said, relax, Mom. I'll take care of it when we get home. It was ridiculous. I never spoke to Chris's mom again. I had enough. She wouldn't have wanted me there. After 15 months, I moved back home. It was hard to leave, but I felt it was for the best. I have been home now 17 months later, and now my whole family is dead. My beautiful daughter and beautiful grandchildren, all dead. Everything seemed fine. Our daughter never spoke about anything bad. She did speak with us about a bankruptcy and a lot of debt with all the medical bills. Bella and Celeste were back and forth to the doctors. They were misdiagnosed for 2 years. I told Shanann that they had asthma and that they needed to fire their doctors. One day she went in and the physician's assistant was there and she diagnosed them with asthma. Finally, the girls were doing great, other than earplugs, I think she means ear tubes, put in, and the girls being very allergic, and I believe she just means CC, allergic to tree nuts, which would have caused their death. Celeste was born with her esophagus too small. They went in 3 times to enlarge it. Steroids like crazy to help her breathe for 1.5 years or longer. All until they were diagnosed with asthma. And then Shanann had her neck surgery, which out of pocket was $25,000 that they owed. So that's why they were in so much debt. Sandy started to notice when they were FaceTiming, because they FaceTimed every night. We talked about this when we talked about Frank, right? FaceTimed every night for 4 straight years. Looking back, okay, so she says they FaceTimed every night. We heard Frank say this too, for 4 straight years with those kids. And when they were back in North Carolina. Looking back, starting late May 2018, what else was going on? When we FaceTimed, Chris was putting the phone all over the room, ceiling, floor, etc. I said, Chris, are you all right? And then he would FaceTime normally. Before Shanann came to North Carolina, Celeste had a rash in her private area and she went to get a face cloth and some cream. And Chris had the phone. I said, Chris, let me see how bad it is, being that I am an, I think she says here, is this something like, being that I am an aide? So she meant, I don't know if she was a nurse's aide or what, or I'm not sure if. So she said she still couldn't see. And so she said, wait, let me move my screen because I can't see. And he just put that phone right on her private parts, and she said she was so mad. Shanann wanted to come for 6 weeks this summer so she could introduce the girls to Chris's sister Jamie. You see, she's still making an effort with this family, and yet they're, slamming her. Who never met Celeste or Uncle Frankie, their son. Before the year started back to school, dance classes, etc., it was the best time to come. The Ruzceks were thrilled. Shanann stayed the week with them and the weekends with Chris's parents. Okay, but she's not making any effort, right? She's ostracizing his family, right? She's holding a big grudge after what they did. The first weekend was great with Chris's dad and family. However, the following weekend was a different story. Saturday was rough for Shanann. She was protecting her children from the nuts in every form. Ice cream, a bowl full of nuts, open razor blades just laying around the house. Shanann called her father, come pick me up now, please. Shanann said Cindy was trying to give her kids ice creams with the nuts in it, and Shanann asked Cindy what kind of ice cream it is. Cindy said, oh, relax, it's just ice cream. Shanann said, please let me read the ingredients. And Cindy told my daughter that she was scary. Well, I guess she said, to Shanann, you're scary. So the girls walked outside to play with Jamie, their aunt and Chris's sister. And after Shanann got done explaining to Cindy how dangerous this nut allergy is to the girls, she's putting the girls, Cindy ignored Shanann. Shanann went outside, Jamie walked in, so the girls walked back in, and as Shanann walked in the kitchen, she noticed a large bowl of nuts sitting on the table. That wasn't there 2 minutes before. So Shanann called Sandy and explained everything to her, and she said, Mom, I'm being double teamed. And I said, what? So she told me everything. But when she told me about the razor blades, I said, what? She changed the subject really quick because my daughter knows I would have been there and caused a big scene. So would I have. I love my family and I'm going to protect them. I said, Dad's on the way. I would have been on the way too. Gotta give her credit because, yeah, I would have been causing that scene. She got home here and was beside herself. I was furious right along with her that someone that you would trust would try to get a child sick or die feeding them nuts and having razor blades around. Shanann told 4 people this: Sandy, Frank, Sandra Ruzcek, and Nikki. She called Chris that night and she was so upset. Chris said he will handle it, so Shanann didn't ever go back again to see them. None of Chris's family came to Cece's birthday party, and Cindy sent Cece's package out to Colorado, which is still there in a box at their house. So Shanann and the girls had a wonderful time the rest of their trip here. And when Chris came here for the week, Shanann picked him up at the airport with the girls, and they were so excited to see their dad that they set off the alarm. I don't know what she means, maybe running up to see him, maybe something in the airport. Chris spent the day with his parents, and Shanann dropped him off at the nursing home to see his grandma. Shanann and the girls came back here. Chris was acting really weird to Shanann. He didn't have time to speak to her, and he was going to stay. Okay, so this is what she means. This is after, I believe that Chris and Shanann and the girls went to see his grandmother, and then she dropped him off at his parents' house, and then she went back to her parents' house. And when she says Chris was acting really weird when he was at his parents' house, that he didn't have time to speak to her, and said he was going to stay because we had a storm with no street lights working. So Chris's dad brought him back here to their home, and that's when Shanann had went on with this, because they were leaving the next day and she needed him to help packing. She needed him to help with packing and things with the girls on their last night there. And I'm sure she wanted to spend her last night with them, but with her husband. But then his family got all upset and they weren't going to drop him off. And that's when Ronnie said in his interview, I don't see what the big deal was, so why can't he just do it in the morning? And then Shanann said, well, I'll come pick you up. And that's when Ronnie decided to drop him off. So she said that Chris's dad, brought him back to their home. And Shanann and Chris spoke on the back porch for a few hours about how he has been and the peanut stuff at his mom's house. And that's what Frankie Jr. says, that they had that. He said it was an argument or whatever. It was a lot of grief over that stuff, and that that's when Shanann was vomiting. So then she said that, where is that? Chris's dad, okay, Chris was distant. He was okay with the girls and with them, but Shanann was vomiting all night, and Chris didn't even get up to see how she was. And this was his wife. And then they left for Myrtle Beach, and Frank, so maybe that wasn't the last night. I don't know. I thought it was, because she might have these, it's very obvious. You can get confused in something like this. They left for Myrtle Beach, and Frank was with them for a couple of days, being that it was their granddaughter's first time at the beach. And Frank left them. I came a day and a half. The girls and I had a blast. Chris was very quiet, doing his own thing and ignoring Shanann. And I said to my daughter, is everything okay? And she said, Chris is Chris. Chris drove Shanann and the girls, no rooms, so I drove, I guess to go to dinner. Chris drove Shanann and the girls in one of the cars, and there was no room, so Sandy was driving behind. And she said she had to do 83 miles an hour to catch up with him. And texting Shanann saying, why is he driving like this? Tell him to slow down. I'm not in a race to go to dinner. And then at dinner, she said Chris left the table quite a few times. He was very silent because he was calling him, I'm sure he was texting his mistress and putting her nude and semi-nude pictures in his calculator app, but remember, she wanted him to fix his family and his marriage, right? Cece was being funny and he walked away again. I left the next day. They came back to the house 2 days later. I asked Shanann to stay here with the girls, and she said Chris has good insurance for the girls, so they went back home to Colorado. I'm devastated. The only reason Chris got fit was because diabetes runs in his family, and Shanann wanted him to live forever, which goes against, that's what these girls are saying, that Shanann didn't want him to get fit and didn't want him to work out and didn't want him to do anything, when Ronnie said in his interviews, they can't keep their lies straight. In his interview, that all of the weight Chris lost in getting in shape, it all had to do with Shanann pushed him to do it, and it was all because of Thrive, and he didn't want to do it. Remember that? I read that to you guys the other day. Yeah, you can't keep lies straight. That's what happened there. Okay, so now, let's see. So that was Sandy's statement. We don't have a statement from Miss Cindy. We only have her media interviews. I don't know why she wasn't. Maybe she just didn't do it. Who knows? So now out of the Discovery, and this is all in the Discovery. You can read Shanann's mother's statement right in the Discovery. So we have here a supplemental report, no property, and this is about Nate, who went on Dr. Oz, and I didn't watch it on Dr. Oz yet. I saw a bit in a piece of it, saying that he exaggerated things about the fighting and it really wasn't as bad or as frequent. And I don't know what's going on with that. Is he being paid to say that? I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. I didn't see the whole interview, so I only saw a little teeny tiny piece, and I don't know if it was just used, because I believe it was on that channel that slams Shanann, so they could have used a piece of it for what they needed. I have to watch it in its entirety before I'm going to say anything about it, because I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you guys saw it. Okay. So, okay, so they went to Nate's house and they gave him the drive to load the footage on. And here's the one thing I just want to mention from this. This is Officer Baumhover, that name, Baumhover, I think it is, said, while speaking with Nathan, I learned he had observed Watts, remember we're talking about the car, walk out his side gate. Now when he says side gate, there was a gate when you came from the back, right? Wasn't there? Isn't that the one that he walked in? So I don't know whether he means the side gate or did he have another one in the back, like if he went down the deck in the back. I don't know, but this is what he says. He said he observed Watts walk out his side gate and leave in there Watts's white Lexus that was parked down the street east from his residence. Nathan said Watts did this when Shanann was visiting family in North Carolina. I asked Nate if he provided any information in a previous interview with an officer, which he said he had not. So yeah, Nate was late coming with this little ditty. But this little ditty is very telling. And also, let me tell you something else, because I had another theory that I'm going to go in regarding this. And coming back the night of the 11th when they went out, and the babysitter said she couldn't tell if anybody was in the car, and he zipped that Lexus right into the garage. So it's very possible the mistress was in that car on the 11th. Okay? And before I go to anything else, I want to just tell you some insights I've had. Oh yeah, this is along with that. Okay, so this is a Officer Goodman, okay? So he was called in to assist on the search on Monday the 13th, okay? He attempted to call Chris on Thursday the 14th at 2 a.m. So this is early, like a lot of people still consider it the night of the 13th. So it was 2 a.m., like 24 hours from the time Shanann got home, almost exactly. Well, he tried to call him at 2 a.m. because they needed information for the missing persons report. Now, this should be a distraught husband, right, who should be, just sitting by the phone, waiting for any news of his missing family, right? He said he called several times to the 911 number, but it just got dead air. And then he said 5 minutes later he got a call from the 720, the Andarko work phone number from Chris. And he said something was wrong with his other phone, and so he was calling from his work phone. And here's something I think. What if she had the 911 number? What if Nicole, what if NK had that 911 phone? What if she was using that phone? What if she had it in the house? Maybe he was in the shower. Maybe he was calling and calling and calling, and so she was just answering and letting it go to dead air. And then when he got out, she said, oh, he was calling you. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, I'll just tell him something was wrong with my phone, and I'll use the other phone. Something's very suspicious about that. Okay. And then if she had his phone, what was she doing with that phone? Did she have a guy there that was erasing the text messages with an app, or hacking it or scrambling them? Could she have been there doing that on that night of the 13th when he had to stay in the house? Think about it. Maybe they had the phone and they were working on it. Couldn't answer the phone because they had something on that phone scrambling up the text messages. And the other thing this officer said, when he did get a hold of Chris, when Chris called him back, Chris didn't even ask, are you calling because you got some news on my family? Are you nothing? He said, officer said that when he talked to Chris, he didn't even ask if he had any info on his wife or kids, about them missing or anything. Nothing. Wouldn't you be, if you had a call from the police and your family is missing and you're sitting there, wouldn't the first thing you'd be like, oh my gosh, did you find out anything? Wouldn't you even be calling every hour just to see, did you find out anything? Did you have any leads? Anything going on? I can't sleep. I'm a wreck. Where are they? Didn't even ask. Didn't even ask. Chris Watts fan club. Didn't even ask. Okay. Now, about, and I've told you this guys before, but at 4:30 a.m., I think it's, Sandra called to say, okay, 4:30 a.m. would be Colorado time, so she's 6:30. She said, Chris is acting really weird. She believes he's involved, says Chris is telling people he's going to go to work. Remember, that was the Tuesday he wanted to go to work? Felt he was going to pour oil on the bodies to dispose of them. And they told her, not to, and that Frank and she spoke to Chris, and he's not even shredding. Frank and Sandy spoke to Chris, and Chris is not even shedding one tear over his family's missing, right? He's not even shedding one tear about that. Sandy told the officers that Chris told, I don't know who he told, I think he told the neighbor, I think he told Nate, that he feels he is being watched by the police in regards to his involvement. And then the officer explained to Sandy, do not threaten or say anything to him because we don't know where your daughter and your granddaughters are. So yeah, don't let on that, you're suspecting him. Okay, so Chris's phone, I talked to you about the theory of she might have had that phone that 13th and had someone hacking into it. Remember, because she had all those things about him parking down the street and told him that he couldn't go to work the next day. And so she could have been scrambling text when that officer called, and maybe they had a program running on it and they couldn't answer it, and that's why he called back on the work phone. Now, the officer that took the pictures of Chris when he was getting arrested, all those pictures, he said that Chris, after he confessed, they saw the red mark on the front of the neck and the red mark on the left side of the neck, and he said the left mark was a mosquito bite. Okay, and then on the 14th, remember when Chris was so worried that if he went out he tried to say, I shouldn't leave the house because if I'm going out with a bag, it might look bad. Remember that one? Why would he worry about that? Because he could just put it in the Lexus in the duffel bag like he did on the 14th when the officer saw him, because I guess he raised the garage door, so he wasn't worried about it then, and he put in a white bag with flowers on it into the back of the Lexus. And then, that's what I'm saying, why wouldn't the garage door be closed? But he opened it, so he apparently wasn't worried at all about that. And then we have the Survey 319. We have Bryce Borders and Matthew Saylor that found that sheet when they approached it on foot, and they also found right near it 2 black garbage bags with red drawstrings. So we know that he says that Shanann's body was in the sheet, and he probably put the little girls in the black bags with the red drawstrings. Okay, and let's see here. On the devices collected, the smartwatches, I know the Apple Watches, you guys, a few of you are saying, yes, they got hers and Chris's, and they sent them out to get information on them. The Amazon Echo was sent out as well, but didn't come back with anything more than just some, user information, nothing. So let's go to Primrose, okay? Matthew Saylor met with the owner, Chris Lang, and Lang told Matt Saylor that Shanann had taken the girls out for an extended summer vacation and that they were due to start back on the 13th, okay? Which I think, this is something, right? I don't even think Chris knew this, because in his interview, he says something about her starting next week, so this is another thing with his plan. So he called up, or he just feigned that he didn't know. I don't know. You never know with him. He's just such a liar. So they said that between 8 and 8:15, they got a phone call from Chris, and it was answered by Sharon Meyer, stating that the girls would not be attending the school any longer. And then Lang stated that Chris then asked Meyer if the girls were there. Meyer was freaked out by the call, and she told Lang, and they later reported it to the police when they found out the girls were missing. And so Lang brought Kerry Wood, who's the school director, to the office to speak to Matthew Saylor, and she said that between 8 and 8:30, Shanann's mother called, and she wanted to see if the girls were in school. Now remember, this is going to be 10:30 in North Carolina. Kerry said Assistant Director Alba Orantes spoke with Shanann's mother midday at about 11:30 a.m. And then again at 3 p.m. Shanann's mother called again and spoke to Alba again. And she asked if the girls were dropped off. The grandmother at that time said they were missing. So then we go to, I'm reading right from their report that it was here. Meyer spoke to Saylor, and she said that Chris called 8 to 8:15. After he introduced himself, Meyer said to him, the teachers were expecting to see the girls. To which he replied he was calling to let them know the girls were not going to start. And he said they're not sure. He said he was not sure what was going on because they were going to be moving, putting the house up for sale, and he said that he was not sure if they were going to stay in the area. And Meyer said, "Oh, that's pretty crazy." And Chris said, "The girls aren't there, are they?" And she said no, but she would check, and so she checked and they weren't. And then she asked if if he wanted her to put them on the waiting list, and she said, do you want me to put them on the waiting list in case something changes? And he said, might as well, but not sure what is going on. Meyer asked to be updated, when available, and that the teachers would be sad that the girls were not coming. Chris said thank you and hung up, and Meyer said that Shanann's mom called after and spoke with Alba, and she said the first time Shanann's mother called, that she said, don't let anyone know I called, excuse me for caring, and don't worry about anything. And then the second time told her she was glad everything was okay, and that they were going, she said something like, hold on, let me see. The second time told her she was glad everything was okay and glad that they were able to talk to Shanann. Shanann's mother was hurried and hung up. 3 p.m. Shanann's mother called again, spoke with Kerrywood this time, and at that time she said, were the girls ever dropped off because they're missing? Okay, 3 p.m. Wood stated, Mom asked if girls were ever dropped off and said they were missing. So we don't know if there were 2 different people that answered these phones. And I don't see where Sandy was asked if she made 3 calls. Do you guys have any information on that? Why wouldn't that information be in here? I'm sure they followed up on it. Let's hope so. They asked, who was the one that was there someone that picked up, and they said Shanann picked up and dropped off. Remember, Ronnie was trying to say that, Chris was picking them up the majority of the time while Shanann was sitting on her ass on the phone doing her Lavelle, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, no, that's why when Chris said they're screaming for their mother, because she was normally picking them up and dropping them off according to the school personnel. And they said that their main primary contact was Shanann. She would be the one that would call if the kids were sick and couldn't go to school, and she was the one that they had just spoke to, and she told them the kids were so excited to be starting school. So they found it, yes, very, very strange. They said Chris did come sometimes, but really he didn't call, and he was not their main contact. So Meyer had felt that call was strange, and then they went to the police. So let's see what else we have. Those Dead Sea Scrolls. What's your thought on that, about why he was looking up those Dead Sea Scrolls, and he was looking up volcanoes? Was that to impress his geologist? And he was also looking up a certain kind of crystal or a mineral, and I looked up what it was, and it was to get the negative energy out. That's like one of the things that it's known for. Did she tell him that that's what they need? And he was calling around to some store over there that sold these types of rocks and crystals, and he had called around to that store, and I don't know if anybody followed up if he did buy anything at that store or came in, but he was searching over there and searching for that mineral, that rock or whatever it was. So I thought I had the name here. And then when I was looking at those text messages, remember that the Mistress, they came up on her phone and they were all out of order. And well, at first one of the officers or someone had, where was it? Somebody put Chris's name to the ones that were NKs and vice versa, and it didn't make any sense. But the ones in red were NKs and the one in blue, the one in red were Chris's and the one in blue were NK. So here's what happens. I'm looking at I just found 629, and he's saying, I'm really going to miss your body next to me. 629? He had just got, didn't she say their relationship just started? He just got back from a trip? What was that? Was that like their first night together the night before? That's crazy. So where was she? She doesn't mention that, right? She doesn't mention that he was staying over at that night. Crazy. Okay, so there's a text in there from 6:30 where it says, this is NK. She supports me. But her parents were in a situation like that when she was a kid. And so it came up. It won't bother me. I'm not going to stop seeing you. Sounds to me that she's talking about one of her friends, maybe Charlotte. Maybe Chris is asking, did you ask this friend about me? Did you tell this friend about me? Remember she said she didn't tell anybody about him? Well, she told someone right here on the 30th. She lies, lies, lies. So whatever it is, and remember she wanted him to fix his marriage and she didn't know he was married? Well, what didn't bother her? That he's married? What situation was her friend in when she was a kid? But her parents were in a situation like this when she was a kid, and it came up. It won't bother me. I'm not going to stop seeing you. Looks like NK's true colors are out there. She knew it all. Now, that's when she said, I made up my mind. Are we bad people? How can people not see her freaking lies? Okay, so he says, I'm still going to see you. It won't be as often as we would like, but this is the 29th. Why wouldn't it, now Shanann is gone, so this is going to be the time, if any, that he had to see her as often as he likes, right? I'm still going to see you, but it won't be as often as we would like. I'm going to make it happen. You think you are the only one addicted right now? I'm so hooked on you. And that's when he said, sleeping without your warm body next to me, this is not going to be fun. That was the 29th. So yeah, this relationship went really fast, huh? For one that just started. Okay, and then I'm going to have tidbits of all, this is my tidbit stuff before we go to the next thing. Okay, so we have this from the site. Did anybody mention that there was a rake head and a rake handle that was found at Survey 319 and taken into evidence? A rake head and a part of a rake handle. Do we know if he had a rake in his truck? And if he didn't, could that be that somebody was there with a rake helping? Okay, and then they had the sheet, which matched the sheet in the garbage. They had hairs that were found on the east tank hatch. The 2 garbage bags. I see where this stuff was sent out, but I want to know what those stains were on those sheets and what they found on those garbage bags and everything. And I don't see that in the discovery. Let me know if you see it. Okay, so when Watts was in jail up to September 19th, they said he made 10 calls. And 1 to 6, let's see, 1 was to enroll in the, what is this? Is it service accounts? I guess whatever, that's the system for them to call from jail. And then calls 2 through 4 were to his public defender. He called his father. That was his 5th call. No connection. And then, now could that be, remember Cindy kept saying something about it's a recorded line? It's a recorded line. They didn't want to talk on a recorded line. And then 6 to 10 were his public defender, and that was through the 19th of September. Okay, I told you about the neighbor being on Dr. Oz, right? Okay, and then, oh, yes. Do me a favor, guys, because you're always come on here and you're always telling me about, what's his name? Armchair Detective. Yes. You guys were always coming here with that video, and yes, I saw that video. I'm not seeing it so clearly. My husband saw it too, and I can't say it so clearly. So that's just me. And I know he's asking you guys to like get that out, get that out, get that out. Okay, and I posted the links, you know. Okay, I have nothing against that, but I want you guys to do me a favor now. Okay, you go back and you tell him that Mommy said And I like the guy, I do. Mommy said that he's wrong about something. He thinks that NK's dad is an attorney, and NK's dad is not an attorney. And I went and I got all the information on it, and you guys can do it too. This is public information. I'm not outing anybody. This is totally public. He is the president of a company, I guess he started, Alpine Controls, established in 1995, and it's an industrial instrumentation service company. You'd think his daughter could get a job with him, right? And prior to that, he was a journeyman electrician and a master electrician, and he had a Rogue, what was it called? Rogue Electric. And his middle name is Lee, in case you didn't know that. There's that Lee again. All right. And you all, a lot of you thought he was like really, maybe it wasn't you all. I had heard so much about, oh, her father's so wealthy. You can see the size of his house, and you can even see what's listed as his income. And not what you think, guys. Okay, now let's look at some fun tidbits from the Mistress that I was not aware of, that I didn't hear. And like I said, these are compiled from various, they're in the Discovery, from various interviews, some in person, some on the phone, that were done. And they're interesting, very, very interesting. So, now listen to these dates, guys. Approximately 6:25 or 6:26. Now, didn't Shanann didn't she leave on the 28th? I have to go back in my notes. I think she went back on, that they left for, I know that right when they were getting back, they were leaving that same night. It might have been the 26th, okay? So the officer says, notes received from NK on 9/1/18, and this is what she said here. So approximately on 6:25 or 6:26 in person. Oh, this is her in person. These are her notes that she gave them, okay? Because she was going to, I guess, put this together for them after all of these interviews and all these phone calls. She said she asked Chris when he and SW, she keeps calling CW, SW, so I'm not saying names, I guess, had decided to separate. He told me late March, early April. Okay, so she's asking all this in 6:25, 6:26 in person. So either she's got the date wrong or he was right back from their trip to San Diego. I asked if he still lived with her, and he told me yes. He said that when she was home, he slept in a different room, and when she was gone, he would occasionally sleep in the master bedroom, but did not frequent because the bed was uncomfortable. I asked why he decided to separate from SW, and CW told me SW was bossy. I asked what he meant by bossy. CW responded that she was controlling and said they really don't argue much, though. Said that once, many years ago, he attempted to stand his ground with her, and she told him, "Get out of my house." Okay. And she made him leave for the night. That's in complete contradiction of, did they ever have a fight where one of them left for the night? Remember? Because I think now this one here is going to go on the slander wagon. Because it's in her best interest to paint this marriage as bad and as broken as she can, because at this point when she's writing this, she's already facing backlash, and she knows she is. So now she's going to be, I didn't know about this when she obviously did, and we know she did through her emails and everything, so that's a lie. But she's going to say, the marriage was bad. It's not that this marriage was good. This marriage was bad. So she says that made him leave for the night. CW said he tried to avoid arguments ever since, and he said that now if he and SW disagreed, she would make nasty comments to him, and he would just ignore them. I asked if she talked like that in front of his kids. See, this is where this came from. Remember I told you that Chris didn't mention this, but she did? And this was in another, must have been in one of the other interviews that I read that about. He said, yes, my kids started to repeat her words, and that's why I want the separation. NK's version, to make her look better. You know, don't feel sorry for this woman. She was terrible to him, and I was helping him. I'm not so bad. She asked him what he said to his kids when they repeated SW's words. And she's asking this supposedly right after, you know, they're starting the relationship. And CW said that he would tell his children, it was not nice to say that to anybody. I asked CW if SW was bossy in front of his friends, and CW said that SW was all about appearances in all aspects of her life, and that in front of her friends, she was occasionally bossy, but she would turn it around into a kind of a joke, so it was more discreet. Of course she's going to say that because they're going to say, I don't know if you're telling the truth, because her friends are not saying. Even Mark says he never noticed that, right? Mark, who was influenced by Cindy. So she's covering her tracks. She's a little manipulator, this one. I asked how long the communication breakdown between them had been going on, and CW said 6 years, and that the last year or two were the worst, okay? Again, she's got her own agenda. She has her own agenda. It's so bad, I didn't destroy any kind of a marriage. There was no marriage there. There was nothing there. It's not me. I didn't do anything wrong. Trying to look good. Oh boy, you are a piece of work there. Okay. I asked him if he tried to communicate to her how it made him feel, you know, because she is just such a great gal. She really is, you know. She knows how to analyze things and tell him how it feels and go through the self-help. Meanwhile, she's more controlling, manipulative, bossy, and arrogant than anyone. Okay. I asked him if he had tried to communicate to her how it made him feel when she said mean comments to him, and he said he tried to talk to her many times, but it fell on deaf ears. I asked if Chris, CW, if they had attempted to go to counseling to fix their problem. CW said no, but she doesn't mention that CW is the one that didn't want to go, right? CW said that some nights he would still currently hang out next to the bed in their master bedroom and with her and try to talk with her, spend time with her until she fell asleep. And CW tells me that the other reason he was separated, he was never separated, honey, is because SW hated that he liked to work out and eat healthy. Like you do, NK? Right, she hated that. Ugh. Said that before they decided to separate, SW would get mad at him if he tried to go for a run at night once the kids were in bed. Said that SW felt it took away from time they should be spending together. CW said that it was very frustrating because he would try to hang out with her and she didn't pay attention to him and would talk on the phone and scroll through social media instead. CW said that many times he would try to talk SW and she would not acknowledge him and instead would reply with, "Were you talking to me? Because I wasn't listening to you." CW told me that SW had asked him numerous times to take pictures of them pretending to run together so she could post it on social media, but she wouldn't actually go for a run with him. She is just putting herself up there. Oh, she's clean eater. She's such a clean eater. Such a clean eater. Said he started waking up early to lift weights because it was something he did every day and he didn't want his routine to interfere with his time with his kiddos. She said health was important to him and he wished that she would have been more supportive and not upset. That contradicts everything that we heard from the mother, and so crazy. Then she says that all happened, guys, on that one day, okay? Now again in person, they're together in person on the 27th, guys, in person. Remember, they just started their relationship, right? Well, listen to what he's bringing her. CW brings condoms to my house. One box is full and unopened. The second is a set of condoms from a partially used box. I asked CW why he has a set of partially used condoms. CW informs me that the condoms he has are from back when he was still having sex with his wife. He told me that they had been sitting in a closet collecting dust, and that SW probably didn't even know they were still there. I asked why him and SW used to use condoms, and CW informed me that SW didn't like to get messy. I was curious. Okay, she was curious now. Yet, watch, she says she's searching for something, but we don't see any of these searches, right? I was curious, so I looked up the expiration date on the condoms and noted that the unopened set expired in 2022 and the open set expired in 2023. I looked up the lifespan of an unopened condom and discovered that it is approximately 5 years. Based on my research, this research that we don't see any searching for, right? Her research, she assumes these condoms were manufactured in late 2017 or 2018. You know why she's doing this, guys? Do you know why she's doing this? You know where she's going with this? Do you? This is more stuff to make her look lily white. He wasn't even having sex with her, even though she was pregnant, right? But they weren't having sex. They weren't having sex at all because they must have bought these back in 2017 and they weren't even opened. And there's only a handful missing. I didn't break up a good marriage, not at all. That marriage was gone. It was broken. I'm not a bad person. Okay, so now on, she goes in person again on July 4th. She just says, I complimented his home as being very beautiful. So she's in his house. CW said that he had always wanted a smaller ranch-style home. Okay, now, here's the dig, here's the screws. It's my wife. She just has to put on these airs. Remember, she said fancy people want to be fancy. It sounded like she was on the prairie. Okay. CW said that SW insisted on the big house because she liked to throw parties and make it look like they had everything. Oh, well, it doesn't sound like you're too jealous, NK, that you're really trying to slander this woman, huh? I asked him what kind of parties he was referring to, and CW just shook his head left and right. Who says that? Shook his head left and right. Where else are you going to shake your head? She's a scholar, this one here. Okay, so he shook his head left and right and said, just expensive parties. Yeah, that sounds like that happened. Yep. Shanann, oh, I love your invitation. I can't wait to come to the expensive party that you're having for no reason. I love that expensive party. And we see so many expensive parties that she had there, right? We see that where the caterers were coming in and they had big crystal favors for all the guests as they left. No, better yet, they had those puppies like in that, what was that, Bridesmaids movie where everybody got one of those puppies, and they had probably parties like that. Just party favor puppies and stuff. Yeah, I bet you that's what she was doing, those expensive parties. CW then tells me they had the house built, and the only part of the design that he had any say in was the stonework and the paint color on the exterior of the house. Okay? That's the only thing he had to say on. So if she knew, like, most women do have more say on the inside of the house than their husbands. A lot of husbands don't even care, or they don't even know the trends or whatever it is. So this is just her with her slander. CW said his mortgage was $2,800 a month. Guys, this is July 4th. This is a brand new relationship, remember? Kind of, she's asking and asking. She's like a freaking interrogator in the beginning of a relationship when they should be talking about plenty of other things if you're starting a relationship, right? And she's grilling him on his finances. That sounds normal. Okay, He said that his mortgage was $2,800 a month and he was tired of being house broke. I asked why it's so expensive, and he said that about $500 of the $2,800 was homeowner's insurance. Went to his house to drop him off. Now she's saying, because this is how she writes notes, this should be the first thing. Went to his house to drop him off after we visited the Shelby Mustang Museum in Boulder. While at his house, I felt uncomfortable, as if I did not belong there. You don't freaking belong there. Oh my gosh. He had built a beautiful life, and it made me think that there was still a chance for him to fix things with his wife. I told him that I did not think it was fair to SW or to me that he was trying to live two lives by being in a relationship with both of us at the same time. I said that I think he either needed to fix things with her and let me go, or he needed to move towards trying to finalize his divorce. That's different than the last time. She didn't say that the other alternative, that he needed to finalize his divorce, did she? No, remember? She said she just wanted him to fix things, and she would walk right out of the way, give her the word, and she's out of there. She didn't say that you've either got to do this or that, and it's not fair to me at that time. She said it another time about being in there with two women, but when she was talking about this part, it was all about her being so selfless and wanting him to fix his stuff. I told him that I thought his problems with SW were fixable and I should focus on trying to rekindle the relationship that they had before giving up. He said that SW was set on separating, that so was he. He said when SW wants something, she gets her way. I told him I didn't understand why they... Okay, listen to this one. I told him I didn't understand why they hadn't completed the divorce after all these months. If they were both so adamant about it. If she wanted it as bad as he stated, I did not understand why it seemed stagnant. At this moment, I realized that he might be lying to me about a separation. Really? So I started quizzing him on the things he had told me earlier. Okay, here she comes. She's going to quiz him now. She's going to give him a little quiz, pop quiz. She asked him, when was the last time he was intimate with his wife? CW told me that day that the last time that he and SW had sex was in May, but he had told me on an earlier date that the two had not been intimate since March or April. I asked CW if he used protection when he slept with her because he stated on an earlier date that he used condoms when they had sex, and he told me that he had not used protection. I asked him if he was lying about his separation. She sounds like the interrogator here. CW said no. I asked him if he was actively trying to have a child with SW since they had unprotected sex, and he said no. I left his house. Sounded like she left angry. Sounded like she knew about the baby. Sounded like she's trying to pretend she didn't, and that she was taken advantage of, right? Poor NK was taken advantage of. He lied to her. Yeah, you knew all about everything, NK. Okay, so then she says, approximately 7:15 to 7:19, continued from the above conversation. So 7:50, so she waited, according to her, they waited 11 days before continuing the conversation, and this was through text and person. He tells me that he still wants a separation, but this time he states it is because he has never met anyone like me. I told him that he better not be doing this for me, and that he needs to be leaving his current situation because it's what he and her both felt is the best for their kids and for themselves. We spoke over the next several days and spent a little time together. It sounds like she had a fight with him and she's putting the screws to him to make him choose her with the pressure, like I've always said. But I did not want to be intimate with him. You see what she's doing? She's trying to make it seem to y'all that she's pulling back, but if she was pulling back, it was a manipulation tactic to get him. It wasn't she was pulling back because she felt bad that she found out he was married, because she knew he was married and she knew Shanann was pregnant. She knew everything all along. She's doing this now to get him to move forward with her, not for any other reason. But she wants to use it now to make herself look better. So she said, she was not going to be intimate with him. I kept telling him that I thought he really needed to fix things with her and to not worry about building a relationship with me anymore. And you know how she said that, right? Just forget it. You're not building a relationship with me anymore. You better take care of your wife since you don't want to get that divorce and you're not doing anything about it. You don't deserve me. That's more like it. And watch the next thing she said. I told him that I had been asked out on 2 dates since I had known him and that I didn't go on either one and that I was stood up. Guarantee you that's not at all what she said. She probably said, you know, it's okay. I've got a lot of guys asking me for dates, you know, and I've been saying no to them, but now I'm going to start going. You know, she wanted to put that fire, she was looking to add that pressure for him to do something. That's what she was doing. She told him that he took the respect and trust from our relationship because I felt like he was lying. And then she says on 7/20, continued from the above conversation in person. Listen to this one. So now that she wasn't going to be intimate, remember she wasn't going to be intimate unless he got unless he didn't want to be intimate with him unless he got the divorce, the separation. But now I guess it doesn't matter on 7/20 because they attempted to have sex 4 times. And he seems mentally interested, but physically he couldn't perform. Really? He couldn't perform. So she must have been like really pissed with that. And so she goes, I asked him what the problem was several times, and he kept telling me that nothing was wrong. I wonder what she was saying. Was she going through that tirade like she did in the interrogation? That why, how? Maybe she said, maybe this is where she took it from, and then it's so little. Maybe she was talking about him. Okay, so she told him that he was quiet that day, and it seemed like he had something on his mind. And I asked him what was bothering him, if what was bothering him had to do with the convo that occurred the previous weekend. And CW said yes. He told me initially that he was mad that I had been asked out on dates. See, we were all saying that we thought she was putting the pressure, putting the screws to him, right? Didn't we all say that? Right? When I was talking to you guys about this and you all agreed, and I said she wasn't telling him to fix his marriage, she was putting the pressure on, saying if you don't, you know, get active with this divorce and everything and get this straightened out, I'm not waiting around for you, remember? She said she wasn't going to wait around. He wasted her time, but then she was trying to tell the cops it wasn't serious, and she didn't care about wasting time. She was all over the freaking place. But this is the real deal here. So things weren't so. Remember, she was saying all over everything. She was having little fights with him, and walking out, pretending this and that, just to put pressure on him. Okay, we got the real deal here now. So she said yes. He told her that initially he was mad that she had been asked out on dates, but then he felt that he couldn't be mad because that would make him a hypocrite. He said what was really bothering him was that she kept asking him to try and fix things with Shanann. Yeah. Chris told me that he would attempt to fix things with her when he was in North Carolina, and that he didn't want to talk about it anymore while he was home. The sex from then on for the rest of the relationship was greatly reduced from 3 to 4 times daily to 1 or maybe 2 times, and was not an intimate when it occurred. I think she means as intimate when it occurred. Sex no longer happened every day we hung out, but was still very frequent. Okay, so she had a conversation, now she says, on the phone while he was in North Carolina. CW told me that he had a conversation with his buddy Mark, who lives in San Diego, and said that Mark informed him that many years ago he believes that Shanann was responsible for a large amount of money that was embezzled from a company that Shanann worked with, and Mark both worked, that Shanann and Mark both worked at, it's like a tongue twister, that Shanann and Mark both worked for at the time, but the company was never able to prove who did it. Okay, Mark. Was this Mark that believes everything Cindy said too. Okay, and then in person on the 8th of August, she said Chris stops by the Frederick, Colorado Toyota dealership to pick up an order of touch-up paints and windshield wipers for her vehicle after he gets off work. I pre-ordered the paint several weeks earlier, and he brings it to my house sometime between 3 and 4:30 that day. That's right after he got back. Well, he's her little errand boy now, right? Everybody wants to say, you know, what Shanann is, this and that and the other thing. Now he's her little errand boy. And he's going to the dealership and dropping it off at her house. Saturday on the 11th, Chris told her he didn't have any extra money for a deposit on an apartment. And that's when she was saying he wasn't gung-ho, remember? I told him that apartment nowadays were so expensive for rent, and the damage deposits have to be fairly cheap because otherwise people can't afford move-in costs. He said that every time he got paid, he just watched his bank account dwindle down, said he wished he had a way to prevent his disposable income from being spent. And now, here comes the financial genius, okay, that she is. Remember, she does homework. I told him that it's possible to divide paychecks into multiple bank accounts, but that if he considered doing that, he would need to make sure he was responsible and that his mortgage and kids and his standard monthly bills were covered first. Sure he did. Told him that if, now listen to this one. Told him that if Shanann ever wanted child support, he would still be required by law to show proof of that income, even if it was in a second account. That if Shanann ever wanted child support, he has to pay child support. Is this girl nuts? She sounds like the girl from Indonesia in 90 Day Fiancé that doesn't understand that fathers have to pay child support, or they're going to, you know, they have to give up their parental rights, or they're going to go and, you know, be sued for it. If she wants it. So what she's saying here, okay, well, let's read between these lines, is that, hey, there's a way you could take some of your money, put it in an account over here, then you put that over there just to cover your bills, and then you could keep taking this, and then don't worry about it. You're not really doing anything underhanded, because if Shanann ever wants child support, which she's probably already got the plan hatched, that's not going to be an issue, but if she ever does, you'll have to show that, so you're not really doing anything underhanded. So don't worry about it. You can do it, and we can spend it, and we can have it, and put it our way, and I can spend it. It's all fine. I suggested that if he decided to do that, perhaps just contribute a small amount that wouldn't impact his current living situation, but would give him a cushion for the first month's bills when he transitioned to an apartment. But that was at his discretion. She's setting it up for herself. Don't you see that? And he did open an account, because I told you I read that in something else. She was a master manipulator. Okay, Monday, 8:13, text or phone. She doesn't know text or phone. Listen to what she's doing on 8:13 when his family's missing. Listen to what this little is doing. She suggested the bank account idea again after he told me that he thought SW was gone for the night at a friend's house. She's trying to say, wouldn't you love to see her missing texts? Wouldn't you love to see this girl's freaking missing texts? Okay? She's covering her butt because she told him, go set up your bank account. They knew she knew Shanann was dead, okay? They knew she knew it. They would know she knew Shanann was dead. She told him to pawn the ring. Remember? She probably told him to pawn the ring, put it in that account. Go get that account set up. Go get that account opened. And start putting your money in there. Okay? So this is what she does, because she doesn't say here that he told her the family was gone. She makes it sound like all she knew was that he was at a friend's house, okay? And she suggested the bank account idea again after he told her that Why would that, if you just thought she was at a friend's house, why, see, she's such a liar. After Shanann was gone for the night at a friend's house, and she asked him if any money was missing from their bank account, CW said no. Oh, she's not, she can't wait to get her hooks, right? Yeah, such a sweetie, Tuesday, 8/14, continued from the above. CW told me, this is the one, he opened up a second bank account so he could start saving for an apartment. So on the 14th, he opened up a new bank account. I wonder if that is true. I wondered where I saw that, so I do have it. Yeah, it's from this one here. Okay. Then she goes back to the 13th again by text. CW informs me his family is gone and asks me to call the cops when I have a chance. Okay, so remember, now she's saying he asked her to call the cops when she has a chance. And remember, she needed time to process all that because she's so delicate, little flower. When I called CW, informed me that the cops were at his house and he would need to call me back. She was probably really pissed about that. I was unaware that his wife had missed a doctor's appointment or that the kids had missed school that day. She was unaware, because she should be aware of all this, Who is he not to tell her this yet? Or that her friend had tried to contact her and couldn't, Shanann's friend, or that he tried to call her and didn't get a response, or that her friend had stopped by the house earlier to check on her. Come on now, you gotta get word to her. She's gotta know everything. I asked him why the cops were there, and he said that Nicole had called them, and he said that the media was going to be arriving. Little NK was so confused, and she asked him why they were there. CW said that Nicole called the media. I asked CW why he believed Nicole would call the cops and the media, and he said Nicole wasn't being very nice to him. She informed me that she was sitting in her car on the phone with SW's mom. So she said Chris informed NK that Nicole wasn't being nice to him, done playing nice. She took her ball and she got in the car and she's on the phone with Shanann's mom. I asked how Nicole knew. She asked how does this Nicole know Shanann's mom? She's not too interfering and domineering and intrusive, is she? CW informed me that Nicole used to work with Shanann's mom. I asked if he thought maybe Nicole was the friend that was helping Shanann to get away for a day, and CW said no. Why would Nicole be helping if she's the one who called the cops? And of course this one, remember, says, well, that's the whole thing. I suggested maybe it was to throw them off the trail. He did not agree, because she's a conniver, this one here. CW asked me if he should talk to the media. I initially told him no, and then suggested that if he decided to speak to them, then maybe he could ask Shanann to bring his kids back. Okay, so yeah, she's telling him, if you're going to speak to that media, you better pretend you don't know anything about what happened. Okay? You're going to ask Shanann to bring the kids back. And she doesn't want him, because she would even get jealous, even though she knows what happened, if he asked for his wife to come back. So she doesn't want him to ask for his wife to come back. She wants him to ask his wife to bring his kids back, because she's such a little jealous little... Okay. She was uncomfortable with him asking for my advice on the media, so then I asked him what his friends thought he should do about the media. CW says that his friends believed that it would look bad if he didn't speak to the news and thought that he should make a statement. On the phone, she said, I asked CW if the cops had attempted to search his house since he believed that SW had gone to stay with a friend. He told me that no, they hadn't. I asked why not, and he told me that he didn't know why they hadn't. I asked him why Nicole did not like him, and he said he wasn't sure. I asked CW if Nicole was married and how well he knew Nicole and her husband, and he informed me that he didn't know her husband hardly at all. I asked again that maybe Nicole was the one who was helping SW to hide out from him for a while, and CW said maybe, but he didn't really seem like he was entertaining the idea. Again, he thought that, she said, I asked him if he thought she was with another man, and he said it was possible, but he didn't think so. I asked him if he thought his family was in danger, and he said, if my kids are with her, then they're safe. Never said he was worried or concerned about his family unless I prompted the question. Looking back on everything, I'm so glad Nicole showed up that day to check on her friend. Oh boy, you're really covering your... Monday, 8:13 again, on the phone. CW says his home camera showed him leaving for work at 5:15, like usual that morning. CW tells me his home alarm system notified him that at 9:10 his garage door opened, but he never received a notification on his phone and it closed. I asked him if his garage door was open when he got home from work, and he said no. I asked CW if he thought Shanann left out the garage at 9:10 that morning, and he suggested that she either left out the garage or the back door because there was no footage of her leaving from the front door camera. I asked CW if there was any sign of forced entry, and he told me no. Okay, and then she says, he told me he didn't want to keep talking about the subject and asked me to talk about something else. I can imagine what the something else was. That's what she said there. And guys, that was really something, right? To see those notes that she sent them in September. Those were her notes that she gave to them. What do you think about that? Let me know. What do you think about all those things in there? Can you read between the lines and understand why she was saying the things she was? Here's what I'm gonna clear up some things. You know when you're in the comments or in your live chat and somebody comes in there and they throw something in there and you're like, where'd you get that from? Where'd you hear that from? Where's that from? And they just keep saying the same thing over and over again, and they don't tell you where they heard it from, or they say, oh, another YouTuber said it. Again, I deal with facts, so I'm just going to go off some misconception. I told you about what to tell the armchair detective, that the father is not an attorney, but I'm going to debunk some myths here. Somebody was in the live chat a few days ago and said that Shanann had IVF, okay, to conceive Bella and Celeste. And I said, where did you hear that from? She did not have IVF at all, okay? That's in vitro fertilization. That's not a fertility. When someone says fertility treatments, it doesn't mean just IVF. Just for, I don't know, in case some people don't know that. Fertility treatments could be as simple as taking Clomid, which stimulates egg production and ovulation, and you usually release more than one egg, increasing your chances of getting pregnant. According to Chris, that Shanann was taking fertility drugs when she was conceiving Bella and Celeste, but she didn't need any for Nico, and they got pregnant. He had told Tammy that they had plotted it out, they would do it, they would not do it for a couple of days, do it. She had it all plotted out, and he said it only took, they only did it twice, and she got pregnant, and she credited, with her health being better with Thrive for that. But he did not say it's in vitro fertilization, and that's a lot different than fertility drugs. So just so you guys know that, it's not in vitro. So I debunked two myths there. Two myths there. I think that's probably a lot to digest for tonight. We went through the school, we went through Shanann's mom, Sandra Ruzcek's statement. We went through debunking some myths, a couple of theories with the phone. Did the mistress have the phone when the officer was calling? Okay. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go because I really want to get this up, and I have to go get my daughter tonight. So I will talk to you guys hopefully in the live chat. And no, I will talk to you guys in the live chat because I would never upload if I'd not. I will talk to you guys in the live chat. Okay. And everybody have a great one, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.